Welcome to the Knuckleheads.
The impudence, the audacity, the unmitigated gall of those Knuckleheads of Liberty podcasters, daring to voice opinions outside the mainstream of accepted thought. Listen if you dare. It's angry, it's funny, it's even sometimes sad, but it's always based on freedom and justice, as you will see. Here's our host, Jason McPhee.
Knuckleheads of Liberty. We are coming at you on May 17th, 2002, and this is a special edition, a second of two parts with Sam Paredes of Gun Owners of California. I said there's so much stuff out there with these crazy, both California and national administrations. It's got us all triggered enough to really focus in on gun issues and gun ownership issues for this in the last show. So, but before we get into that, let me reintroduce you to our panel again. In our upper left-hand corner, we have Leon, the word Brathwaite, last word in Liberty. He is a retired engineer from the state of California. In our upper right-hand corner, we have our screaming eagle of freedom, Tim Everett. He is a pilot in the state of California. In our lower left-hand corner, we have our special guest today, and that's Sam Paredes of Gun Owners of California, here to talk to us about some of these really interesting issues on guns. And my name is Jason McPhee, and I'll be your host today. You know, this is kind of an interesting one, this first topic we're going to jump into on this show, and that's insuring your way to gun safety. And this is something that's popped up in California recently in San Jose. And they recently voted, I believe their city council, I think it was, that voted on it. And they had said that, you know what, we're going to try and put some insurance and, I guess, tax on the guns in order to help deal with, I guess, the gun violence issues or something. I'm not quite sure of exactly how they think that's going to solve it all, but unfortunately we have Sam here to talk to us about it, and it did pass. So that article said it was, I guess it was up for a vote, but here we have another article said, yep, it actually did pass in February of this year. So this is, really going to say, hey, gun owners have to carry special liability insurance. And, I actually kind of, from a market perspective, I like the idea of pricing risk, but I tell you, this seems to have a whole lot of problems when you really think about it. And Sam, why don't you tell us a little more about it?
Sure. Mayor Liccardo of San Jose sold this as a requirement that people buy, gun owners are being required to have liability insurance to be able to pay for the results of gun shootings. And ultimately, we pointed out to him, and the media finally accepted the fact, and even he agreed that, well, you can't actually require people to buy liability insurance to pay for a criminal act. So this liability insurance it just isn't going to go towards paying for the victims of gun shootings. So this was just kind of a lost leader that he had. And as you can imagine, this is another precursor requirement where the government is requiring somebody to do something before they can exercise an enumerated constitutional right, a right that is in the Bill of Rights, in our Constitution. But no, it's not yours until you buy liability insurance in order to be able to pay for the results of gunshot victims. Waiting periods so that we can make sure that you are a law-abiding citizen before you exercise a constitutional right. So Mayor Liccardo used this as a it's basically a campaign ploy. There's several lawsuits that are in the process of being filed or have been filed to challenge this wholly unconstitutional issue. You can't buy, there is no insurance policy that you can buy that's going to pay for the misuse of a firearm. It doesn't exist.
Exactly. But Jason, I was a little bit confused by your statement. You say this is the market pricing out risk, which is maybe true in a sense. But what you have here going on is that the criminal is the one who's going to commit a criminal act, but the gun owner, a law-abiding gun owner, is the one who's going to be paying the price for the liability insurance. I don't see how that is the market is working efficiently here. If this is allowed to go through, I don't see that at all.
Well, I think that the issue would be, and Tim, I'll let you in. I just wanted to answer Leon real quick here, but I think
I don't
the
know where
issue
to
is.
start.
Well, the issue is if it were truly something like, let's say, for instance, you were managing explosives on your property or something, and you had to have insurance so that your neighbor, in case something your thing blew up and it damaged your neighbor's property, maybe you could see some kind of a parallel there. But this is something kind of weirdly different, and that it, like Sam was saying, it totally ties into the aspect of a criminal here. And one of the questions I had as well too is, have they even talked about pricing? I mean, what kind of pricing would they even have to do with this? Because I know when they talk about environmental regulations, they talk about like pricing of like putting $10 million per life on a lot of regulations that go through. How would you even begin to put the insurance on a handgun, and if they even put a price signal on that?
Tim, were you going to say something before I respond?
I don't know. I'm kind of waiting. Go ahead and answer that one, Sam.
They ultimately admitted, because every lawyer, every consultant to the city council pointed out, hey guys, there is no insurance policy that will pay for the criminal misuse of a firearm. So the best you can do is require them to have what is equivalent to an umbrella policy in case they have an accident. It was not a malicious or illegal use of a firearm and an accident occurred. But most insurance policies have riders that exclude accidents with firearms. It would be analogous to requiring people to get insurance for the misuse of driving a vehicle. Now, most automobile policies for accidents, they're all covered. And then if you're partially at fault, they graduate that, you're 20% at fault, the other person's 80% at fault, but they will not their policies will not cover the actual misuse of a vehicle. When you commit an act with a vehicle, you run into a business or run over people on purpose, or you drive
I was
drunk.
just thinking of what Nosha or whatever that was up in Wisconsin, where the guy drove through, I think it was a stolen vehicle, and he drove through a crowd. And I mean, $50,000 liability is probably the minimum somebody had to have on that car, maybe $100,000 somewhere. That couldn't even begin to cover the damage that guy would have done in that parade.
True.
Sorry, go ahead. I just want to bring that up since you brought the car up.
I think the insurance companies would say, you know what, we're not responsible for paying anything as a result of that criminal act. This was not an accident. This was an intentional act, and you're on your own, buddy. You're outside of the policy rules and guidelines. So tough toast. That we're not covering that. So and whether it's insurance, whether it's San Jose requiring all residents of the city of San Jose to pay a fee if they are gun owners, as so that they can exercise the privilege of owning guns within the city of San Jose. That's another one of these precursor conditions on the exercising of a constitutional right. Clearly unconstitutional, and the mayor knows it, and he's willing to spend millions of dollars in San Jose, city of San Jose resources out of their budget to fight this in court, knowing full well that he's going to have his rear end handed to him in a legal basket. He's going to lose, and he knows it. So this is an egotistical politician who's using this to try to score brownie points for his eventual run for Congress or governor or emperor or king or whatever it is that he wants to do in the future. He is a small-time tyrant, and he wants to take that to higher levels.
Yeah, I like that.
It gets back. Go ahead, Tim. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I like that analogy, a lost leader of a act, because he's just going to use that. He's going to reach into there. If it wasn't for those terrible Republicans, I would have been able to pass this gun owners insurance thing, and we would have solved all our problems. And life would have been just a bowl of cherries. But no, those evil Republicans. That's why you need to elect me.
Yeah, pretty much. Leon, what were you going to say? Buddy?
Yeah, but all of this, yeah, thank you. That all this gets back to the issue of the government trying to make us get their permission, the government's permission, for us to exercise our enumerated constitutional right. This is really problematic. I think this could not withstand a constitutional scrutiny. It will not stand. I don't think so.
100%. I agree. And as we discussed previously, these rights were not granted to us by government. They were enshrined in the Bill of Rights and the Constitution because they pre-existed the existence of this country. These rights are human rights that are God-given, or by our Creator, as they said in the Declaration of Independence. And they wanted to make sure. I mean, there were some of our founding fathers were saying we don't need to do this because everybody knows what rights are and what God-given rights are. And thankfully, there were a bunch of knuckleheads back then who said, "Hey, listen, in generations to come, they're going to forget about this thing of sacrifice and revolting against a tyrannical government. They're going to forget about what liberty and freedom is, and they're going to infringe on our rights, and tyranny will rise again." So we want to enshrine at least these 10 rights that pre-existed the Constitution and cannot be taken away by government because they were not granted by government. So
exactly. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, always and forever.